One day before my son's wedding, my future daughter-in-law told me, "The best gift you could give is if you just disappeared from our family." Imagine this. I just canceled their dream wedding, and the shock they found waiting in their empty house. Well, that's my story. It began with Amanda's words, a brutal slap across the face. She stood in my son's kitchen, her pristine wedding dress hanging behind her like a ghostly omen. "The best gift you could give our family," she declared, that cold, plastic smile I'd grown to despise fixed on her face, "would be if you disappeared." Michael just nodded, not even bothering to look at me. If you're watching, please subscribe and let me know where you're tuning in from. Your likes and comments mean a lot and help me know you're following my journey. So how did I get here? 3 years ago, I sold the beautiful Victorian home my late husband, Robert, and I had poured our hearts into restoring. The entire proceeds, $87,000, became the down payment for Michael and Amanda's dream house, my life savings handed over with a mother's unconditional love. They promised I'd always have a place with them, always be family. Now, the day before their elaborate, fully financed wedding, Amanda had decided I was disposable. "Did you hear her?" Michael finally spoke, his voice ice cold. "This is supposed to be our special weekend. Your negativity is ruining everything." My negativity? I'd spent the morning arranging flowers, the afternoon on last-minute prep, and the evening listening to Amanda nitpick everything from the weather to the caterer. My sole negative contribution was suggesting swan-shaped ice sculptures might be a bit much. "So where exactly am I supposed to go?" I asked, my voice unnervingly calm. Amanda shrugged, inspecting her perfectly manicured nails. "I don't know. A hotel? Your sister's? Honestly, Dorothy, I couldn't care less as long as you're not here tomorrow. This is my son's house too," I reminded her. "Actually," Michael cleared his throat, "it's pretty much Amanda's now. She handles all the finances, all the improvements. You just gave us some money once." Some money once. $87,000 reduced to some money once. I stood in the kitchen where I'd cooked countless family dinners, gazing at the granite counters I'd helped pick out, the custom cabinets my money had funded. They'd taken everything I'd given, then convinced themselves they deserved it. In that moment, something inside me didn't break. It shifted, like a gear clicking into place. "You're right," I said softly. "I should go." Amanda looked genuinely surprised. She'd likely anticipated tears, pleas, the usual Dorothy being difficult drama she could recount to her friends. "I'll pack and be gone within the hour." Michael actually looked relieved. "That's probably for the best, Mom. We can talk after the honeymoon, once things settle down." Talk after the honeymoon. As if this were a minor spat about table settings. Upstairs, I walked into the guest room. My home for the past 6 months. Never my room. Always the guest room because guests eventually leave. As I folded clothes into my suitcase, I overheard them downstairs, already planning the space's transformation. Amanda envisioned a yoga studio, Michael an office. Not a hint of guilt, not a thought for the woman who'd made their perfect life possible. I paused at Robert's photograph on the nightstand. 43 years of marriage, and he'd never once made me feel unwanted in my own home. "Don't worry, sweetheart," I whispered to his image. "I'm not going down without a fight." But first, calls needed to be made. In my car, parked outside their house, no, outside the house my money had bought, I dialed my lawyer's emergency number. Margaret Chen, who'd managed my affairs since Robert's passing, had foreseen this very scenario. "Dorothy, it's Saturday evening. Is everything all right?" "Margaret, I need all the documentation on the house purchase. Every last piece." A pause. "Has something happened with Michael and Amanda?" I recounted everything. Amanda's ultimatum, Michael's betrayal, their casual dismissal of my contribution as some money once. Margaret listened without interruption, though I heard furious typing. "Dorothy, I've been worried about this for months. They've treated your investment like a gift, not what it actually was." "What do you mean, what it actually was?" A longer pause. "You don't remember signing those additional documents? The ones I insisted on after you voiced concerns about Amanda's spending." My heart pounded. "Margaret, please tell me you protected me somehow." "Oh honey, the $87,000 wasn't a gift. Legally it was a loan with your name on the deed as co-owner. Amanda never signed the acknowledgement forms I sent over. In the eyes of the law, you own 35% of that house. I nearly dropped the phone. Are you serious? Dead serious. Amanda kept forgetting to sign. And you, focused on family peace, never pressed it. But the mortgage company lists you as a co-borrower. And the deed shows your ownership stake. It's all completely legal and binding. Through the kitchen window, Amanda was now beaming, showing off her wedding dress on a video call, probably to her mother. Laughing, gesticulating wildly, blissfully unaware of the conversation that would soon shatter her world. Margaret, hypothetically, what if I wanted to sell my share? As a co-owner, you'd have every right to force a sale. The other owners would have first right of refusal, of course. They could buy you out at current market value. And if they couldn't afford to? Then the house goes on the market, and the proceeds are split according to ownership percentages. I watched Michael enter the kitchen, popping champagne, toasting their freedom from the burdensome mother. No doubt. Margaret, prepare a notice of intent to sell. I want it delivered first thing Monday morning. Dorothy, are you sure about this? Once we start. I've never been more sure in my life. They want me to disappear? Fine. But I'm taking my 35% with me. After hanging up, I sat in the deepening twilight, watching my son and his fiancée clink glasses, celebrating a future in the house I'd made possible. They had no clue that in under 48 hours, their perfect little world would shatter. But first, one more call. Sunset Gardens Country Club, this is Jessica. Hi, Jessica. This is Dorothy Mitchell. I need to speak with your catering manager about tomorrow's wedding reception. Oh, Mrs. Mitchell, how exciting. The wedding's tomorrow, isn't it? How can I help you? I'm afraid there's been a change of plans. I need to cancel the reception. Cancel? But ma'am, it's less than 24 hours away. The food's prepared, staff scheduled. I understand, and I'm prepared to pay the cancellation fees. The thing is, I'm the one who signed the contract and paid the deposit. I believe I have the right to make changes. A rustle of papers. Let me check. Yes, the contract is under your name with your credit card. But surely you want to speak with the bride and groom first. No need. I'm making an executive decision. Please cancel everything. Mrs. Mitchell, with respect, this seems like something that should involve the happy couple. I watched Amanda through the window, trying on her veil for the 100th time. The happy couple made it very clear my involvement in their lives is no longer welcome. So, I'm simply honoring their wishes. 20 minutes later, I was checked into the Hampton Inn across town, ordering room service, and feeling a satisfaction I hadn't known in years. The satisfaction of taking back control of my own life. At 11:47 p.m. my phone blared. What did you do? Amanda's shriek forced me to hold the phone away from my ear. I honored your request, I stated calmly, muting the TV in my hotel room. You wanted me to disappear, so I disappeared. The country club called. They said you canceled our reception. Our wedding reception, Dorothy. 200 people are expecting dinner tomorrow. I'm sure they are. That certainly sounds like a problem. Michael snatched the phone. Mom, this is insane. You can't just cancel our wedding over a misunderstanding about sleeping arrangements. I didn't cancel your wedding, sweetheart. You can still get married. I simply canceled the reception I was paying for. You know, the one that cost me $14,000. Silence. I'd never mentioned the cost before, always deflecting questions about money, content to be their generous mother, blissfully unaware of my sacrifices. 14,000? Amanda's voice was barely a whisper. The reception, the flowers, the photographer, the band. Did you think it was all free? Did you think money just materialized because you decided to have a fairy tale wedding? But we can't tell 200 people there's no reception. Michael stammered. You're resourceful adults. I'm sure you'll figure something out. I hear McDonald's caters now. Amanda was openly sobbing, ugly, wrenching sounds that 6 months ago might have guilt me. Now they just sounded like the tantrum she'd thrown since the engagement began. How could you do this to us? We trusted you. Trusted me? You literally told me to disappear from your family. I'm simply complying. I didn't mean forever. Amanda wailed. I just meant for the weekend. Ah, I see. So I was supposed to psychically understand that permanently actually meant temporarily. My mistake. Michael tried a new tactic. Mom, please, we can talk about this like adults. Come back to the house and let's work this out. The house where I'm no longer welcome? The house where my presence ruins everything? I don't think so. Where are you even staying? Amanda demanded. That's not really your concern anymore, is it? You made it quite clear that my living arrangements are my problem to solve. I heard frantic whispering in the background, no doubt them scrambling to undo their mess. Can you at least call the country club back? Michael pleaded. Maybe if you explain it was a misunderstanding. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a very clear business decision made by the person paying for everything. But what about our guests? What about Amanda's family, flying in from California? What about them? You're still getting married, they can witness that. They just won't get a free dinner afterward. Amanda grabbed the phone. You're being vindictive and cruel. No, sweetie. Vindictive and cruel was telling the woman who's been supporting your dream wedding to disappear from your family. I'm just being fiscally responsible. This will ruin everything. Everyone will think we're broke. Well, now that you mention it. I let that hang in the air watching them squirm. Without my financial support, you probably are going to be broke pretty soon. That's another thing we should discuss. What do you mean? Michael's voice was tight with panic. I mean, have you actually looked at your household budget lately? Do you know your monthly expenses versus your income? More frantic whispering. Because I've been supplementing your lifestyle in ways you probably haven't even noticed. The grocery money I slip Amanda when we shop. The utility bills I pay online because you're a little short this month. The car repairs, the insurance payments, the little emergencies that keep popping up. Those were gifts, Amanda said weakly. Were they? Because from where I'm sitting they look more like an allowance. And allowances can be discontinued at any time. The silence stretched so long I thought they'd hung up. Finally Michael spoke. What do you want, Mom? Now that was interesting. An hour ago they couldn't wait to get rid of me. Now they wanted to negotiate. I want exactly what you offered me. To disappear from your family permanently. And I want to take my money with me when I go. By Sunday morning my phone buzzed with 37 missed calls and 41 texts. I ignored them, savoring room service breakfast and the Sunday paper like a perfectly civilized person. The wedding was set for 2 p.m. At 9 a.m. a knock. Through the peephole I saw Michael, tuxedo shirt wrinkled, looking like he hadn't slept. Mom, please, we need to talk. I opened the door but didn't invite him in. Shouldn't you be getting ready for your big day? That's what I need to talk about. His eyes were red-rimmed, desperate. Amanda's having a breakdown. She's locked herself in the bathroom. Her mother's threatening to fly back to California. The whole thing's falling apart. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you work it out. Work it out? Mom, you destroyed our wedding. No, son. I merely removed my financial support from your wedding. There's a difference. He pushed past me into the room and I let him. Sometimes you just have to let people hang themselves with their own words. This is insane. Over what? A misunderstanding about sleeping arrangements. Sit down, Michael. Something in my tone made him obey. I remained standing, looking down at my 42-year-old son, who was finally beginning to grasp that actions have consequences. This isn't about sleeping arrangements. This is about respect. Gratitude. It's about treating the person who made your lifestyle possible like a human being, not an inconvenience. We've always treated you well. Have you? When was the last time you asked about my life? My interests? My feelings? When did you invite me somewhere because you wanted my company, not because you needed my help? He opened his mouth then closed it. I'll wait. The silence stretched, uncomfortable. When was the last time you called just to talk? When did you remember my birthday without Facebook's reminder? When did you treat me like your mother instead of your personal bank? That's not fair. Isn't it, Michael? In the past year, how much money have I given you and Amanda? I don't know. A few thousand here and there for emergencies. $37,000. His face went white. $37,000 in emergencies, and little helps just until you got back on your feet. On top of the $87,000 for the house down payment. That's $124,000, Michael. More than most people earn in 2 years. We were always planning to pay you back. Were you? Because Amanda's been shopping for a new car. You've been looking at vacation packages to Europe. Neither of you has mentioned paying me back even once. He slumped forward, head in his hands. What do you want from me, Mom? I want you to understand I'm not your personal ATM. That kindness and generosity aren't infinite resources. And that when you treat someone badly enough for long enough, eventually they stop caring about your problems. So you're punishing us by ruining our wedding day? The casual cruelty, that my setting boundaries was punishment, cemented everything I'd felt. No, Michael. I'm protecting myself by stopping a pattern of financial abuse. Financial abuse? That's ridiculous. Is it? You've conditioned me to believe my only value to your family is monetary. You've trained me to expect crumbs of affection in exchange for major financial contributions. You've made me feel guilty for having needs and expectations while you take everything I offer for granted. I sat across from him, leaning forward so he had to meet my gaze. Yesterday, Amanda told me the best gift I could give your family was to disappear permanently. And you agreed with her. After everything I've done, everything I've sacrificed, you agreed I should disappear. She didn't mean it. Yes, she did. And so did you. And you know what? You're going to get exactly what you asked for. He looked up sharply. What does that mean? I smiled, and it wasn't a pleasant smile. It means you better figure out how to pay for your own lifestyle from now on. It means you better hope Amanda's parents are feeling generous. And it means you better start looking at apartments because the house situation is about to get very complicated. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the legal documents you never bothered to read before your father, and I helped you with that down payment. The ones that make me a co-owner of your precious house. The color completely drained from his face. That's right, sweetheart. I own 35% of your house, and I'm about to put it on the market. Michael stared at me as if I'd just spoken ancient Greek. You can't own part of our house. We bought it, we live there. With my $87,000 down payment, yes. Did you think that money just evaporated? But you said it was a gift. You said you wanted to help us get started. I pulled out my phone, scrolling to Margaret's email from last night. Apparently, my lawyer had different ideas about protecting my investment. Would you like me to read you the relevant legal documents? This is impossible. Amanda would have had to sign something. Amanda was supposed to sign something. She kept forgetting to return the papers. Margaret kept them on file anyway. Michael was shaking now, whether from anger or fear I couldn't tell. You planned this. You've been planning this whole thing. Oh, sweetheart. If I'd been planning this, don't you think I would have done it before paying for your wedding? I just spent $14,000 on a wedding for people who told me to disappear. If I'd been scheming, I would have pulled the plug months ago. So what happens now? His voice was small, defeated. Now you have a choice. You can buy out my 35% share at current market value. Or we sell the house and split the proceeds. We can't afford to buy you out. The house is worth $300,000 now. 35% of that is over $100,000. I know. I'm good at math. That's why I have money, and you two are always broke. He flinched. We're not broke. We just have a lot of expenses. Michael, your combined household income is $8,000 a month. Your mortgage payment alone is $2,400. Add in car payments, credit cards, utilities, groceries, and Amanda's shopping habit, and you're spending more than you make every single month. How do you know all that? Because I've been making up the difference for the past 3 years. Did you think the money fairy was leaving cash under your pillow? The hotel phone rang. I answered it while Michael sat, processing his new reality. Mrs. Mitchell, this is Jessica from Sunset Gardens. I have the bride's mother on another line. She's asking about reinstating today's reception. She says she'll pay all the costs if you'll allow us to proceed. I looked at Michael, who was listening with desperate hope. That's very generous of her, Jessica, but I'm afraid that won't be possible. Mom, please. Michael began. I held up a hand to silence him. You see, Jessica, there are some family dynamics at play here that make it inappropriate for me to accept payment from other family members for an event I chose to cancel. I understand. Should I tell Mrs. Worth that the cancellation stands? Yes, please. And Jessica, send my final bill to this hotel. I'll settle up everything I owe for the inconvenience. After hanging up, I turned back to Michael. Amanda's mother was willing to pay $14,000 to save your reception. She's been planning this wedding for months, invited half her country club. How nice for her. Too bad her daughter couldn't manage to be civil to the person originally footing the bill. Michael pulled out his phone. I need to call Amanda. We need to figure out what to do about the house. Go ahead. But Michael, when you talk to your wife about our new arrangement, make sure she understands something. He looked up from dialing. I'm not the same woman who walked out of your house last night. That woman was desperate to keep peace at any cost. This woman is done being taken advantage of. You're really going to force us to sell our home? I'm going to exercise my legal rights as a co-owner. What you do with that information is up to you. He left without another word, likely off to deliver the worst news of Amanda's life on what was supposed to be her happiest day. 20 minutes later, my phone rang again. Dorothy. Amanda's voice was barely recognizable through her tears. We need to talk. No, sweetie. We really don't. You made it very clear yesterday that talking to me wasn't something you were interested in doing. I was upset. I was stressed about the wedding. I didn't mean what I said. Of course you were upset. It must be exhausting pretending to tolerate someone you obviously despise. I don't despise you. Amanda, in the 3 years since you moved into the house I bought for you, you've never once thanked me. Not once. You've never asked about my life, my interests, my health. You've never invited me to anything unless you needed a babysitter, food, or a check. That's not true. When was the last time you called just to see how I was doing? Silence. I'll save you the mental effort. Never. You've never called just to check on me. But you're Michael's mother. Your family. Yesterday, you told me the best gift I could give this family was to disappear permanently. Today you're claiming I'm family. Which is it, Amanda? More crying. The kind of desperate sobbing that once would have sent me rushing over with tissues and comfort. Dorothy, please. I'll do anything. I'll apologize publicly. I'll pay you back. Pay me back with what money? You don't work, remember? You're a full-time homemaker in a house you couldn't afford without my money. I'll get a job. That's a great idea. You should definitely do that. But it doesn't change the current situation with the house. What if we agree to pay you back for everything? All the money you've given us over the years. I almost laughed. Amanda, honey, you owe me $124,000. At minimum wage, it would take you about 6 years to earn that, assuming you never spent money on anything else. The ensuing silence was the sound of reality finally sinking in. By 4 p.m. they'd made 16 more calls. I answered exactly 0. Instead, I enjoyed a leisurely late lunch in the hotel restaurant, watching local news coverage of a wedding disaster at Sunset Gardens. The reporter omitted names, but footage of Amanda crying in her wedding dress on the country club steps was unmistakable. Excuse me, aren't you Dorothy Mitchell? I looked up to see a woman my age, perfectly styled gray hair, kind eyes. Familiar, but I couldn't place her. I'm sorry, do we know each other? Barbara Worth, Amanda's mother. She gestured to the empty chair. May I? This should be interesting. Barbara settled with the practiced grace of someone accustomed to social crises. I wanted to thank you. That wasn't what I'd expected. Thank me? For showing my daughter who she really is. The waitress arrived, Barbara ordered coffee, and I waited, intrigued. I've worried about Amanda for years, Barbara continued. The entitlement, the way she treats people she deems beneath her. The utter lack of gratitude. I kept hoping marriage would mature her. But now I've seen how she treats the woman who made her lifestyle possible. And I'm horrified. Her coffee arrived. She sipped thoughtfully. I offered to pay for the reception, not because I condone Amanda's behavior, but because I felt responsible for the 200 inconvenienced guests. But you were right to refuse. I was. My daughter needed to face consequences for her actions. Real consequences. The kind that can't be fixed with daddy's money or mommy's connections. I studied Barbara. Her directness was refreshing. She called me hysterical about the house situation, Barbara went on, demanding I loan her money to buy out your share. I told her, Absolutely not. If she wanted to own a house, she should have treated the co-owner with respect. A woman after my own heart. Can I ask you something, Dorothy? What's your endgame here? Are you planning to force the sale? I've been wondering that myself. Honestly, I haven't decided. Part of me wants to see if they can truly support themselves without my money. Part of me wants to sell the house just to watch their perfect little world crumble. And the other part remembers that Michael is still my son despite everything. Barbara nodded. I understand. But may I offer some advice from someone who's enabled her daughter's bad behavior for 39 years? Please don't save them from this. Whatever you decide about the house, don't cushion the fall. Amanda has never faced real consequences for treating people badly, and it's turned her into someone I barely recognize as my daughter. She reached into her purse, pulling out a business card. I'm flying back to California tomorrow. If you ever want to talk to someone who understands what it's like to love an ungrateful child, call me. After Barbara left, I sat alone with my thoughts, my phone still buzzing with increasingly desperate messages. The truth was I hadn't decided my endgame. I'd been reacting, protecting myself, asserting boundaries. But now I needed a plan. The nuclear option. Force the sale. Michael and Amanda would find themselves in a far less desirable part of town, finally learning to live within their means. The merciful option. Offer to sell my share for less than market value. Maybe just what I'd put into it. They'd still struggle, but might keep their home. The spite option. Retain my ownership stake indefinitely, collecting my share of taxes and improvements, watching them squirm every month. As I weighed these options, my phone rang again. Not Michael or Amanda this time. Mrs. Mitchell, this is Detective Rodriguez with the Virginia Beach Police Department. I'm calling about a report we received regarding financial elder abuse. My blood ran cold. I'm sorry, what? We had a call from someone claiming that family members have been financially exploiting you, and that you might be experiencing cognitive decline. They're requesting a welfare check. Those manipulative little snakes. Detective Rodriguez, I can assure you I'm in full possession of my mental faculties. In fact, I'm probably thinking more clearly than I have in years. That's good to hear, ma'am, but we do need to follow up on these reports. Would you be available to meet with me tomorrow morning? I glanced around the hotel restaurant at normal people living normal lives, and felt a surge of pure fury at my son and daughter-in-law's latest manipulation. Absolutely, detective. In fact, I have quite a lot I'd like to discuss with you about financial abuse. Just not the kind my family reported. After scheduling, I sat back, a smile spreading across my face. If Michael and Amanda wanted to play hardball, I was more than ready to step up to the plate. Time to show them a real power play. Detective Rodriguez was younger than I expected, perhaps 40, with intelligent eyes and a patient demeanor well suited for family disputes. We met at the police station Monday morning. I'd brought my entire financial file. Mrs. Mitchell, he began, I want to start by saying the caller seemed genuinely concerned about your welfare. I'm sure they did. My daughter-in-law excels at sounding concerned when it suits her purposes. I spread my bank statements across his desk. Detective, in the past 3 years, I've given my son and his wife $124,000. Would you like to see the documentation? His eyebrows rose as he examined the papers. Check after check, wire transfers, credit card payments on their behalf. A clear pattern of financial dependency. This is substantial, he noted carefully. It is. And yesterday, when I finally set some boundaries about how they treat me, they decided I must be mentally incompetent. I played Amanda's 3 a.m. voicemail. Dorothy, this is insane behavior. Normal people don't destroy their families' lives over hurt feelings. We're worried about you. Maybe you need to see someone, get some help. Michael thinks you might be having some kind of breakdown. Detective Rodriguez listened, taking notes. Has there been any history of cognitive issues, Mrs. Mitchell? None whatsoever. I manage my own finances, maintain my own household, drive myself. The only thing that's changed is I stopped letting them take advantage of me. I showed him the house documents Margaret had sent. My lawyer can verify I'm a legal co-owner of their property. Everything I'm doing is within my rights as an investor protecting her assets. As for the wedding cancellation, I was paying for a reception for people who told me to disappear from their family permanently. So, I honored their request. We spoke for another 20 minutes. Detective Rodriguez was thorough but fair, and by the end, he seemed satisfied I was mentally competent and financially savvy. Mrs. Mitchell, I'm closing this case as unfounded, but I do want to give you some information about elder financial abuse resources, just in case. Actually, Detective, I said, collecting my papers, I think I've got the situation well in hand now. As I drove away from the police station, my phone rang. Michael. Mom, the police called. They said they're not pursuing the welfare check. That's because I'm not the one being financially abused in this relationship, sweetheart. What's that supposed to mean? It means you and Amanda have systematically drained my resources for years, giving me nothing but disrespect in return. The detective was very interested in my documentation. A long pause. Are you threatening us? I'm informing you that your manipulation tactics aren't working anymore. Mom, please, can we just sit down and talk about this like adults? We can. But not at the house I co-own. And not until Amanda genuinely apologizes for her behavior. She's sorry. She's been crying for 2 days. Has she? Because the voicemail she left me at 3 this morning suggested she thinks I'm mentally ill, not that she's sorry. Another pause. Where do you want to meet? Margaret Chin's office. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. bring Amanda, and bring a realistic proposal for how you're going to handle the house situation. A proposal? Michael. I own 35% of an asset worth $300,000. That's my retirement security. You either buy me out or we sell. Those are your options. After hanging up, I realized something fundamental had shifted. For the first time in years, they needed something from me more than I needed something from them. Margaret's law office, with its dark wood and leather-bound books, felt like neutral territory. Michael and Amanda arrived 15 minutes late, clearly having argued in the car. Amanda's eyes were puffy and red, her usual polish completely gone. She'd clearly been crying for days, and a twinge of sympathy stirred within me. Then I remembered her words. The best gift would be if you disappeared from our family. Dorothy, Amanda began immediately, I owe you an enormous apology. I was stressed and overwhelmed and I said things I didn't mean. Thank you. That's a start. She looked surprised, as if she'd expected immediate absolution. Margaret spread the house documents across the conference table. Let's review the facts. Dorothy provided $87,000 for the down payment. The mortgage shows her as a co-borrower. The deed lists her ownership at 35%. Michael studied the papers as if they might magically change. We had no idea about the ownership stake. You would have if Amanda had signed the acknowledgement forms, Margaret replied crisply. I sent them 3 times. I was busy with wedding planning, Amanda said weakly. For 3 years. Margaret's tone was beautifully skeptical. I let them squirm before speaking. The question now is how we move forward. I have a proposal. They both leaned forward, hopeful. Option 1. You buy out my 35% share at current market value, $105,000. Amanda's face went white. We don't have that kind of money. Option 2. We put the house on the market and split the proceeds according to ownership percentages. We'd have to move, Michael said quietly. Yes, you would. To something you can actually afford. What about option 3? Amanda asked desperately. There is no option 3. Those are your choices. Margaret pulled out a calculator. If you sold the house today after realtor fees and closing costs, you'd probably net around $270,000. Dorothy's share would be about $95,000. You'd have $175,000 to find new housing. That's not enough for anything decent. Amanda protested. It's enough for a nice apartment, or a smaller house in a different neighborhood, I replied. You know, the kind of place people with your actual income should be living. Michael ran his hands through his hair. Mom, is there any way we can work out a payment plan? Maybe we could pay you monthly until we've bought out your share. I've been waiting for this. At what interest rate and with what collateral? You've already proven you don't honor financial agreements. That's not fair. Isn't it? You owe me $37,000 in emergency loans you never intended to repay. Why would I trust you with another $100,000? Amanda started crying again. This is going to destroy our lives. No, Amanda. This is going to force you to live within your means for the first time in your adult life. But what about our credit? Our reputation? I almost laughed. Your credit, honey, is already terrible. You've been late on every bill for months. I know because I've been bailing you out. Margaret cleared her throat. I need to advise you that Dorothy has every legal right to force a sale. She's being more than generous by offering these options. How long do we have to decide? Michael asked. 30 days, I said. That should give you time to explore your financing options. As we prepared to leave, Amanda grabbed my arm. Dorothy, please. I know I hurt you, but we're family. Doesn't that count for something? I looked at her hand on my arm, then at her face. For a fleeting moment, I saw the scared young woman behind the entitled facade. Amanda, family is supposed to count for something. That's exactly the point. 2 weeks into their 30-day deadline, I had an unexpected visitor. Barbara Worth stood at my hotel room door with a bottle of wine and a determined expression. I hope you don't mind me dropping by. I got your hotel information from Margaret Chen. I invited her in, curious what had brought Amanda's mother back to Virginia. I came to check on the kids, Barbara said, settling into the armchair. And to talk to you. How are they doing? Terribly. Amanda's having daily panic attacks. Michael's working overtime trying to secure a loan. They're constantly fighting. I poured us wine, surprised to feel less satisfaction in their misery than I'd expected. Barbara, are you here to ask me to reconsider? Actually, no. I'm here to tell you about Amanda's father. That wasn't what I'd anticipated. Richard spoiled our daughter rotten, Barbara continued. Every tantrum rewarded, every consequence cushioned, every failure someone else's fault. She sipped her wine thoughtfully. When Amanda was 16, she totaled her car driving drunk. Instead of facing legal consequences, Richard hired the best lawyer and got the charges dropped. Why are you telling me this? Because I've watched my daughter become someone I don't recognize, and I finally understand her problems won't be solved by more money or more rescuing. Barbara reached into her purse and pulled out a check. Amanda asked me to give you this. It's for $25,000. A good faith payment toward buying out your share. I looked at the check but didn't touch it. And what did you tell her? I told her I wouldn't be her enabler anymore. This check represents Richard's life insurance policy. Money I was saving for her inheritance. But I realized giving it to her would just repeat the same pattern. She tore the check in half. Barbara, that's a lot of money. Money Amanda hasn't earned and doesn't deserve. Dorothy, I want you to know that whatever you decide about the house, you have my support. Even if it means they lose their home. Especially then. Maybe having to start over will teach Amanda what work and gratitude actually mean. After Barbara left, I sat alone. For 3 years, I'd been Amanda's enabler, just as much as her parents. Every check I wrote, every shortfall I covered, taught them there'd always be someone to catch them. The question was, what lesson did I want them to learn now? My phone buzzed with a text from Michael. Mom, we've been approved for a home equity loan that would cover $60,000 toward buying you out. Can we meet to discuss partial payment arrangements for the rest? I stared at the message. They were trying, which was more than they'd done in years. But a home equity loan meant deeper debt, not responsible living. I typed back. We can discuss it, but I want to see a complete household budget and a realistic plan for paying off all your debts, not just mine. His immediate response. Anything you want, Mom. We just want to make this right. For the first time, that sounded like progress. The budget meeting was enlightening in the worst possible way. Michael and Amanda spread their financial documents across Margaret's conference table like evidence of a crime, which in a way they were. Okay, I said, reviewing their monthly expenses. You spend $400 a month on restaurants. We both work long hours, Amanda said defensively. Sometimes we're too tired to cook. You don't work at all, Amanda. Michael works long hours. I moved down the list. $300 a month on Amanda's clothing budget. I need to look professional for social events. What social events? You don't have a job. Amanda's face reddened, but I continued. $200 on premium cable and streaming services. $150 on Amanda's gym membership, which you use maybe twice a month. $800 a month in credit card minimums for what appears to be shopping and vacation debt. Michael was furiously adding numbers on his phone calculator. Mom, I know it looks bad. It looks like you're living a lifestyle that requires